So I'll read the first few lines of this joke, and then if I've told it to you, just please raise your hand. Wisconsin couple decided to go to Florida to thaw out during a fierce winter. They planned to stay at the hotel they stayed at during their honeymoon 20 years before. Because of work, they left different days. The husband left on Thursday. His wife was to arrive in Florida on Friday. The husband checked into the hotel, and in the room was a computer. So he emailed his wife, but he accidentally left a letter out of the email address and sent it. Well, in Houston, a widow had just returned home from her husband's funeral. He was a minister. She went to her computer expecting to read messages from relatives and friends, but after reading the first message, she screamed and fainted. The son ran in the room, saw his mother on the floor, looked at the computer screen, which read, "To my loving wife. Subject, I've arrived. I know you're surprised to hear from me. They have computers here now, and we're allowed to send emails to our loved ones. I just arrived and checked in. I see everything has been prepared for your arrival tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you then. Hope your journey is as uneventful as mine was. P.S. Sure is freaking hot down here." You know, I also am a priest at Corpus Christi on the weekends. I told that joke. They laughed for 5 minutes. Some people were on the floor, pounding the floor. Some people threw money. They thought it was that good. Bill and Alan were brothers, both in their 50s. Their dad had died a month before. The brothers were out for dinner and conversation drifted toward their dad. Both respected their father, but had no affection for him. He was a bully, even to his own sons. The sons reminisced about their youth. Both had been humiliated by their father. Alan, the younger, asked Bill, "Who do you think made him that way?" Bill answered, "He was brought up the same way by his father. That's all he knew. He just kept the pattern going." Alan said, "But he must have seen other men who were fathers who weren't like that." Of course, he would never mention such things. Bill said, "Guess what? 3 weeks before he died, he said, 'I'm going in for surgery, and I'm not sure about the future.' He told me he was frightened of dying." Dad said the week before he had to attend a funeral of one of his vice presidents of the company. And after all the funerals he had been to for the first time, he did notice the family of the deceased. All 4 children were feeling emotional pain over the loss of their father. When the casket was closed, each of them was weeping. It was obvious they would miss him. Very obvious that they all loved him. At the reception afterwards, Dad was sitting with another vice president. They were talking as usual about the business when Dad abruptly changed the subject. He asked, "Why was Carl's family so broken up?" And the question came back, "Didn't you know?" "Know what?" "About his wife. She had MS those days. Not much could be done. She died 8 years ago. We both knew him as a good worker. When his wife was bedridden, he went home. His mother was there for the kids when they came home from school. She cooked dinner. They all took turns washing dishes, straightening out the kitchen, including Carl. He took the time to go to parent-teacher meetings and most of the kids' games. Each of the kids separately told me a story of how their dad saved them from something they perceived as troublesome. And each mentioned how Dad was so strong, he carried the family through the ordeal. If any of them got sick, he'd call in saying he wasn't able to come and work, but once the problem was taken care of, he returned. Every night, he'd sit by his wife's side, she's in bed, and tell her what happened that day to each of the kids. He would ask them at dinner. They all knew he would be telling their mother. Even when she could no longer talk, he would be there by her side. And that's why the eldest son said in his eulogy, "Today, we bury more than a father." This man knew what life was all about. For his children, he was a personification of Christ. This was a man who knew life is about what you do for others and not about the advancement of yourself. Bill said, Dad said he hadn't paid attention to the eulogy. The son said, when I was older, I asked my father, how did he do that and not break? He was always there for each of us and Mom. And he said his father, before him, taught him life is not about us and making money and being seen as the great businessman. We don't get to ask life questions. Life asks us the questions. And my dad said, so when your mother got sick, I remembered my dad's advice. And he thought, life is asking me to make sure I do the best for my wife, and I will do the best I can for my kids so that you could all grow into mature adults. Before I met your mom, I was a hot shot. Your mother's illness was so difficult for her, but it made me realize if I had gone the way I was going before I met her, I'd have made myself the center of the universe. I had thought life is all about getting my own way. I wouldn't have allowed anybody else a significant place in my life. No matter how difficult it became, I took my life in a new direction. My constant prayer was, I trust in you, Jesus. He suffered, your mom suffered, I suffered, but I will never say I wasn't blessed because I discovered what life is all about. It's about making the right decisions. Bill said to Alan, that really hit our dad hard because he realized he was a self-centered, selfish man who didn't really care about anybody else, just his work. He had loads of self-control about his work. No self-control when it came to relationships. And he said to me in the hospital, those 3 weeks before he died, Bill, I'm so sorry. I messed up your life and Alan's. I already apologized to your mother, but what a waste. I don't think there will be much crying when I go. And Bill said, I noticed neither of us cried when he died. He told me he discovered the truth of life too late, and he did not live his life going in the right direction. The Magi in today's gospel went in the right direction and meeting Christ, away from evil, away from selfishness, away from hurry.